Web3 is almost dead. It's bleeding out on the table, and its leaders are still, hopelessly, attempting to pump their bags on X or busy investing in longevity startups. Web3 looks to be heading towards a seemingly inevitable end. 8.5 years ago, my team and I founded Arweave. Along the way, I also served as the president of the Web3 working group. We've seen this story up close, and I must say, it feels personal. The decentralized web could still succeed, but we clearly need to make changes. And we need to just shut the fuck up and build. But before I get back to it, if you would allow me 10 minutes, I would like to take you through where we think things are and how we can fix it. So, before the solution, let's back up. How did we get here? To keep this video brief enough, I will skip most of the details, but the TLDR is something like this. First came the promise, an amazing idea. Expand the notions of Bitcoin from a currency to cover all cyberspace services, even non-financial ones. If we did that, it would give us the trustless web that was radically different and better for users, offering end-user rights built into the protocols. A freer and fairer cyberspace. Next came the capital. In 2017 and 2021, we saw huge inflows of capital to back this idea. Crypto had found product market fit in financial services, across the spectrum from sensible to simply gambling, and Web3 looked like it was going to be next. Then, headwinds. Trustlessness is a strange property in a sense. It can be hard to discern if it is there until you actually need it. And when you do need it, it becomes absolutely vital. Because the central property of the stack is almost invisible most of the time, the public hasn't become attuned to assessing it yet. This gap has led to a diminished incentive to ship real services that are actually trustless. I've frequently heard from other founders that, quote, even if we did build it decentralized, no one would notice anyway. And they're probably right. Simultaneously, Web3 was part of an experiment in hyper-financialization of early-stage technology. This was great in some sense. It gave real, normal people access to early-stage opportunities in technology that they just weren't able to previously. But liquid tokens also created unbounded distractions for even sincere, well-meaning builders. Social decentralization led to the creation of protocol stacks rather than unified services. Each layer of that protocol stack had its own token, or perhaps more realistically, each token had its own protocol. The logic of layering protocols was inherited from the first web, where it actually played out well. But when each protocol has its own token, the dynamics are very different. Each group is incentivized to maximize the value capture of their token in the stack. The token is the product can only really play out in one way, and we're seeing that today. Intense focus on speculative assets for hypothetical protocols before they barely even exist in centralized form. We're building decentralized X. Is it actually decentralized? No, but we'll do it later, trust us, is a refrain remarkably that we've all heard many times. They're saying that the unique selling point of their protocol isn't important enough to actually build now, but we should trust them to make it trustless later. This makes absolutely no sense. There's been much talk in Web3 over the years about when we will go mainstream. But the truth is that the mainstream has just done very well at seeing through this noise. The wag me mentality only goes to one place, and frankly, it's just dumb. Life is short, and unless you're building actual protocols, the real thing, there are probably far better uses of your time. This cycle must stop. And yet, the promise of the decentralized web is still very real, and it's more needed now than ever. And in fact, where things are going, too, I don't think it'll be something that we can simply afford to live without. Here's a reminder of why the decentralized web matters. Once we build a set of core infrastructure, apps need not be companies. They can be protocolized and permanent. Whether as a company, there is a machine that will want to extract from you maximally. This is not a value judgment, it's just their nature. It's what they are. Most of us see now that this is not necessary in cyberspace. These permanent apps, PermaWeb apps for sure, guarantee user rights in a way that centralized web apps will never be able to as a result of the protocols that they run on top of. On the PermaWeb, your keys are your identity and you hold them personally. Your access to your audience and friends can't be taken away from you by anyone else. The value of this in the modern era simply can't be overstated. All infrastructure on the PermaWeb is also shared, rather than the responsibility of each developer individually. Users should have the right to choose their own infrastructure providers from a marketplace, just like they do with ISPs today. From the point of view of developers, PermaWeb apps are built once, pay a couple of cents to host, if that, and the app works permanently. On the PermaWeb, content also doesn't belong in one company's database. It belongs to you, the users. You choose how it is used. And all of the content is shared across all applications. Instead of building on an empty database, builders start with all of the content on the web from day one. These benefits are real, tangible, and practical. Interestingly, the difficulty of building with tokens, and yes, it really seems that they make it harder to deliver things rather than easier, has meant that this hard but not impossible challenge has yet to be achieved at scale by any group. While we've made huge strides in the last few years, this is currently true for the PermaWeb too. While the market has essentially given up on the dream of the decentralized web, we remain completely convinced that it is both obviously possible and equally obviously valuable if it can be delivered. So, there's clearly huge potential in the decentralized web, but things have veered off course. How can we fix it? I think the answer is actually very simple. We just need to focus on building until the decentralized web is 1. Actually fully decentralized. Shocker. Top to bottom though, with no ifs and no buts. 2. Working well for end users. Right to their browsers, fully decentralized. No points of trust along the way. Once we have this, it will be time for growth. But for now, it's enough hype, guys. We must focus. The irony in all of this is that it won't even take that much capital or that many engineers that long to build the necessary infrastructure, even to ship it at scale. It's definitely not technically easy, but is also nowhere near impossible. We built version 1 of Arweave on less than $400K, and AO testnet on less than $1 million. And each other layer of the stack could be handled similarly too. We just need relentless focus and patience to get it done. That's why I quit X for Git last year. I personally believe the PermaWeb on Arweave will be where the decentralized web lives, but I hope that members of all projects in the Web3 space come to similar conclusions as these, and soon, lest the promise of our collective dream be wasted. We are losing, guys. If we don't change course, we are going to lose. Wake up. So with that in mind, let's take stock and gain a clear-eyed view of the state of play for the PermaWeb. For the PermaWeb, the good news is that our base layer, Arweave, is already resilient and decentralized. This is not marketing fluff, this is real. Here are some anti-Moonboy downers so you know I'm serious. Arweave has no roadmap. It is a complete protocol. Despite being necessary and good for the protocol, it's definitely not cool in Web3. The engineers now just focus on fixing bugs and making node operations smoother. There's no hype man pumping your bags, as you can see, kind of anti-hype man in a way, nor is there a hype machine. It is, however, a real, useful protocol that serves its purpose well. But Arweave is just the core of the PermaWeb. It serves a long-term mission to offer a permanent, trustless archive of human knowledge and history. The PermaWeb, the world of decentralized, censorship-resistant applications on top of it, requires many other cogs in order to function. We need decentralized compute, decentralized data seeding, content delivery, indexing, and querying, all in order to offer the true experience of the PermaWeb to end users. Centralized versions of these services have existed for many years now, but the lack of truly trustless alternatives is holding us back. At Forward Research, we started working on one of these major vectors in 2023, decentralized compute at any scale. Along the way, we found an architecture that can act as a universal primitive for each of the other layers too. We launched it a year ago today. It's called AO Core. It's a genuinely new and novel beast. While yes, it can serve as the smart contracting system for the PermaWeb, it does much, much more than that. The essence is that it turns every connection, whether between peer-to-peer nodes in the network or even end-user client browsers, into micro-blockchains. In short, AO Core embeds a framework for granting blockchain-like properties to other services through the transport layer. To be blunt, the AO Core protocol and the properties it offers are almost unhelpfully novel. People tend to grok it best though when they see it in practice. So over the next few days, we'll be posting a video where we do just this. Show, don't tell. Some of you may know that last year, Forward Research was focused on transitioning AO legacy net smart contracts to use AO Core. But additionally, we also built open implementations of every other layer of the PermaWeb stack. Because of the composability of AO Core, all of these services can share the same security mechanisms as AO Compute itself. For example, they can run inside TEEs. Each of these services can now be deployed in a fully trustless way, directly becoming part of the AO network, but also usable inside other incentive layers. For example, Ario. It is a complete PermaWeb in a box, the PermaWeb OS, if you will. 1 year ago, that was simply unthinkable. It covers upload, download, indexing, querying of both Arweave data and also newly computed data inside AO. We should be real with you, though. These services now exist in a form that can be deployed trustlessly, but many of their implementations are still buggy. Anyone who's been eating glass with us using AO smart contracts over the last year knows this to be true personally, perhaps viscerally even. To give you a sense of the scale of the engineering work that has taken place, we have been building Arweave for 8.5 years now, but the AO core codebase is already almost as large. It is truly a mammoth project, and while there is still much to do, the progress over the last year has been immense. I'm very, very grateful to all of the developers that helped us make that happen. So here's what we need to focus on next. We have two parallel tracks. You can think of it as the back end of the PermaWeb OS and the front end of the PermaWeb OS. First, the back end. This includes everything we've been building at Forward Research, from content delivery to indexing, all the way through to financial infrastructure of AO smart contracts that allow people to trade ownership of their content. In 2025, we implemented the whole stack in one composable, trustworthy box. But now the game is improving reliability and deploying it trustlessly at scale. Along the way, we will be changing how we operate our Arweave.net services and AO Compute cluster to make them fully trustless too. There could be small bumps as we go, but we'll keep you informed. Once we are done with this deployment, you won't need to rely on us in the future. Our second focus is on working on the front end of the PermaWeb OS. When we started building the PermaWeb, the skills needed to build web applications acted as an unwanted moat, gatekeeping who could take part in helping in the mission. Over the last year, though, the barrier to entry has simply been demolished. Anyone with an idea and a coding agent can now make apps of their own. When mixed with the composable nature of the content on the PermaWeb and the neutral shared infrastructure that underpins it, the combination is extremely powerful. It is also unique to the PermaWeb. You don't want to do 10 years of business development and content creation and acquisition to get content onto an applet you vibe coded in 10 minutes. You also don't want to spin up your own servers and manage DevOps. You don't even want to found a company. You just want to create fun, new experiences built on a huge library of open content at the start. The PermaWeb is the only place where that is actually viable. But the current experience is still needlessly focused on developers. We need to drop the code from Claude Code and Codex. Everyone should be able to create PermaWeb apps, period. We're starting to build a tool to bridge this gap, and it runs natively on AO and Arweave. We'd rather show than tell, though, so more soon. Here's the reality of Web3 in 2026. We're at a crossroads. There are good odds that the mission will fail. I think if things do not change, that is actually now the likely outcome. The mission is still, however, self-evidently worth it. It's going to take time and focus. The challenges are hard, but they're also clearly not impossible. The industry has also rightfully lost credibility with the mainstream. We need to deliver them the core value proposition with integrity at scale in order to rectify that. If you're hardcore about making the decentralized web happen, the PermaWeb is the community for you. No hype, no bullshit. We are just building real technology aimed at making this dream a reality. If you're passionate about the mission you want to help, Forward is always hiring. DM me anytime. If you're not a dev but you want to get involved, we have something in the pipeline for you too. Stay tuned. Thank you all for taking the time for some real talk. Back to building.